Um, it was in 1970, and he called me, and he had been watching my show, and he said he would like to meet me, so I invited him to come over. So he flew over. He lives in Asheville, near Asheville, North Carolina, and he flew over and had supper and spent the night with June and I. And then he asked me to appear with him on a crusade, so we did. We went to the Knoxville Crusade, and we've been close friends ever since. He's written parts of his last three books at our house in Jamaica. He likes to go there to write, and we spent several vacations together. He's a good man. He is what he appears to be.
Has he been a help to you?
He's been an inspiration to me. Billy is a friend like Waylon is a friend. You know, people say, you mean you're friends with Waylon Jennings and Billy Graham too? You know, why not? Waylon is a very spiritual person. Anybody with the talent that he's got is a spiritual person. And as a friend, I tap that spirit in Waylon. And I know what makes him tick. I know what makes him mad. I know what makes him happy, you know? And I know there are things I like to talk to him about that I don't talk with anybody else about. And same with Billy. We don't talk about religion or the Bible all that much when we're together. We talk about life, talk about everything, whatever's happening. And Billy has been a great inspiration to me, and his friendship has been something I've leaned on from time to time over the years. And he's like the kind of friends that, like Waylon and Billy are like my mother, you know, regardless of what I've done, or they've heard that I've done. And, you know, they're still the same to me. They still love me the same. And that's what, to me, that's what love is all about. Friendship is all about.
Do you go fishing with Billy Graham?
Yeah, I've been fishing with him 2 or 3 times. He doesn't care all that much about fishing, but we have been fishing together. We've walked on the beach a lot together, taking the morning walk on the beach and talking. And talking about whatever friends talk about. He's a very human person, very humble. A woman cannot walk in the room without him jumping to his feet, you know? Like when a lady walks in the room, Billy Graham is on his feet. And Rosie and Roseanne, June's daughter Rosie and my daughter Roseanne were with us in Jamaica. We were all sitting at the table and they weren't in yet. And when they walked in the room, Billy scooted his chair back and jumped to his feet, and Roseanne said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing, sit down." He was just standing up because you walked in the room. She said, "Oh, really?" You know, that didn't have that happen very often. But he's a nice man.
John, how do you feel about burning the flag? Do you feel like we should have a law against burning the flag? An amendment, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. When I see somebody or hear about burning the flag, I think about the time that June and I went to Vietnam in 1969 and saw the burning flesh. The boys coming in from the helicopters on the stretchers with the flesh burned, falling off from the napalm on their bodies. And you never forget the smell of that. But anyway, back to the flag. I think of that, whether we were, you know, whether the Vietnam War was right or not, there are a lot of people who sacrificed their lives for it, and their time, and their brains. And whether or not we were right in being there when we went, that wasn't the issue. It's that Americans were there dying for me and dying for that flag. So you know, I think if you want to burn the American flag, you ought to take it to Iran. But I still cherish those freedoms, you know? Like if I got a week off next week, I can go and do anything I want to in this United States. And there's not many countries you can do that in. And I cherish all of the freedoms that we got, including the right to burn the flag. but I also got the right to bear arms, and if you burn mine, I'll shoot you.
John, you wrote a song once, and I think you may have written it while you were in the Air Force, called Ragged Old Flag.
No, I wrote that in 1975.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. In Binghamton, New York.
I saw you do it on the 4th of July several years ago at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Could you do it for us right now?
Ragged Old Flag. I walked through a county courthouse square, and on a park bench, an old man was sitting there. I said, "Your old courthouse is kind of run down." He said, "Oh, that'll do for our little town." I said, "Your old flagpole's kind of leaned a little bit, and that's a ragged old flag you got hanging on it." He said, "Have a seat," and I sat down. "Is this the first time you've come to our little town?" I said, "I think it is." He said, "I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag. You see, we got a little hole in that flag there when Washington took it across the Delaware. And it got powder burned the night Francis Scott Key sat up watching it writing, Say Can You See? Got a little rip in New Orleans with Pakenham and Jackson tugging at its seams. It almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag, but she waved on, though. It got cut with a sword at Chancellorsville. Got cut again at Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard, and Bragg, and the south wind blew hard on that ragged old flag. On Flanders Field in World War I, she took a bad hit from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II. She hung limp and low by the time that one was through. She was in Korea, Vietnam. She went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. The Native American Indians, the blacks, the yellow, the white, all shed red blood for the Stars and Stripes. And in her own good land here, she's been abused. She's been burned, dishonored, denied, refused, and the very government for which she stands is scandalized throughout the land. And she's getting threadbare. She's wearing kind of thin. But she's in good shape for the shape she's in, because she's been through the fire before, and she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, and we bring her down slowly every night. We don't let her touch the ground, and we fold her up right. On second thought, I guess I do like to brag, because I'm mighty proud of that ragged old flag.
John, one of my favorite stories about you, which I think emphasizes your international reputation, was the crossing of the border from behind the Iron Curtain. I think maybe from Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, Czechoslovakia into Germany. Lou Robin and a couple of the guys went into the, we were all on the bus, June and I and John Carter and the Carter family and the band, and we stopped at the border coming out of Czechoslovakia. And we'd done 2 days of shows in Prague, and 12,000 people twice a day. We had 48,000 people at our shows in Prague. And coming out, the Red Guard and the KBG run the border, you know, at customs going through. And they came on board the bus and took all the passports inside to check them out. And we waited and waited, and after about 30 minutes, Lou Robin came back out and said they wanted me inside. Well, June and I got up and went inside. And they were all standing around looking at me as I walked in. Nothing was going on. They were just standing staring at me, all the KGB and the Red Guard, and I asked Lou, I said, "What do they want? What's wrong?" And he said, "I don't know. They just want you to come in." So he went over to the one who spoke English at the desk, and he said, and he asked him what they wanted. And he came back over to me, and I said, "What do they want?" And he said, "They want you to sing." I said, "All right." I thought we were going to be held up in Czechoslovakia for a few years, you know. So So tell Bob Wooten to get his guitar off the bus and tell the girls to come on in. So we got against one wall with one guitar and sang about 5 or 6 songs. And at the end of the, and very stern face, at the end of every song there. And then after about 5 songs, I told Lou, I said, that's all we can do with just one guitar, and we're tired, we're traveling, do we have to sing anymore? So he asked the boss in the place if we could go, and he said, yes, tell Mr. Cash, thank you very much for the concert, and he has permission to leave. So we went on through.
Now, meantime, while you're singing, aren't they backing traffic up for miles?
As far as you could see over the hills behind us, miles and miles, the cars and buses and trucks were backed up and waiting while our bus stood right there while we gave a mini concert to the KBG and the Red Guard.
I would like to show you something very impressive. It's a rather large undertaking. Johnny Cash has recorded the entire New Testament. John, that must have taken a while.
It did. It took, the actual recording, it took 18 3-hour sessions.
And I would assume there was a time when you would stumble over a word now and then, and that has to be edited out?
Yeah, every few verses. I would not either, I'd make a mistake in pronunciation, or it's recorded in the New King James Version, and I grew up with the old King James Version, and sometimes I would be reading the new, but I would speak the old, and I wouldn't be aware of it until...
You mean you would transpose?
Yeah, I wouldn't be aware of it until the editors call me, say come back in and do some pickups or
Obviously
some corrections, and there are hundreds of them.
Obviously, you are that familiar with the old version and versus the new version.
I'm not sure how familiar I am with either one of them, but I'm probably more familiar with this one now since I've read it aloud all the way through.
That's 54 hours.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot of reading.
Well, there's for every chapter, I would read it to myself aloud. And if there was something I didn't really understand, especially understand the fundamentals of the thing I was reading, I would stop and study it. I'd take a commentary and study it until I prepared in advance by doing that very thing. But sometimes I would do that in studio, take 10 or 15 minutes to study ahead. So when I read it, it would sound like I knew what it was saying, at least.
How is the delivery? Is the delivery like I might hear you do a recitation on records?
Well, I think so. I would like to feel that it's, you feel like you're sitting in the room with me and I'm reading the Bible to you. The reason I did this, Ralph, is I had so many people, that wanted to talk to me about religion or the Bible. And so many say, I've read the Bible, but I don't understand it. Well, I found a version that you can understand. So like I said, I studied and I worked hard on it and put in all these 54 hours in the studio. But if the microphone was this close, it's a very intimate thing, and there's only my voice. There's no background music or sounds at all except the sound of my voice. And sometimes I might pop a pea, and you'll hear that, or I might rattle a paper, hopefully not much noise distracting in the thing, but it's just my voice.
John, we do not have a Bible handy. I wonder, however, I know you have a great memory, if you could give us an example of what is in this recorded version of the New Testament.
Well, I do have a good memory, but don't misunderstand me. I haven't memorized a lot of the Bible. I can't do a lot of it from memory. But I do know a 3-minute piece that I memorized especially for a special thing I was asked to do in Atlanta at a religious thing. But this is, I guess, probably a really good example of what my Bible tape is like. And the 3 minutes that I will do is from the New King James Version, and it's from the 8th chapter of Mark, beginning with verse 27